All right, I'm going to use, like I said, the 2B right now. And as I mentioned, you have, and I'll start with creating a value scale, okay, of the arrangement of shades. I'm going to use the technique called blending, okay? Now, with blending, okay, you're going to use the side of the pencil, and like we said, it is going from, let's say, a light to a light, dark to light, or light to dark, whichever way you find it easier to work. I recommend light to dark because of the fact that when I work with pencil and when I'm working with a drawing, I tend to work kind of all over, and I slowly put in my values. Now here I'm using the side and the point at the same time, and I'm getting that gradation that I need. And I want, you know, your even darker values. So now I'm going to tighten up. I'm pressing with my thumb, getting a little bit extreme with this value. And now with that extreme, that wonderful, you could say contrast there, now I'm going to slowly make that shade fade into the rest by applying less pressure as I move down. And I'm going to keep going until I finally have made it gradate into the rest of the shade. Okay, so right there, now I have a smoother transition from one to the other. And I'm going to work on here too, because that's a little bit too pronounced there. What I do, I like to have it smoothly gradate from one shade to another. Just like that. Okay, so now that right there is your blending. Why is it so, okay, anyway, I'm trying to make it so that you guys can see it, but that's really light. I mean, it's hard to see still. All right, now, next technique is hatching, okay? Now, hatching is lines in one direction. Now, actually, I'll show you two forms of hatching, okay? This is one form where you work with lines, one direction. The closer the lines are, the darker. The farther apart the lines are, the lighter, okay? Now, another form of hatching that I do is the following. Okay, I like to work with my hatching. It's a little chaotic. Some say, hey, wait a minute, that looks a little too much like cross-hatching. But as long as you're working in the same direction, that's good. Okay, that's good enough. You know, it may look a little like cross-hatching here and there, but still, you know, you're overlapping in the same direction. And that's okay. Darker, like they say, more hatching, closer together. All right, good.
Students at this time, you know who you are. If you need to take the PERT test for dual enrollment, please report to the media center at this time. Again, teachers, please allow those students, they know who they are, that need to take the PERT test for dual enrollment in the media center at this time. Thank you.
Okay, now, so that was blending. This is hatching. Okay, this is the more chaotic kind of hatching. You decide. Now, the next, cross-hatching. Okay, cross-hatching is kind of fun. I'll be honest, if you're another thing too, what are these techniques for? Okay, every artist is different. Some of you are a little bit more methodical, some of you are a little bit more hyper and chaotic, and whatever the case might be, each one is kind of like your voice. I don't know if you've ever sang in a chorus, but there you usually have an alto, soprano, falsetto, contraltos, and they have you all set up according to the type of pitch, the pitch of your voice, right? So consider this like your pitch. That's what this is. You will develop a way of working that you decide for yourself is best, okay? Some of you have the patience for blending. Some of you don't. And if you don't have that patience for blending, then guess what? Cross-hatching just might be the key for you, okay? Now, this is one method of cross-hatching. I'm going to show you another one that actually Chuck Close does it. And there's a bunch of them out there. A lot of artists doing crazy things. There's some artists that even use writing words that make up cross-hatching. And some artists even use scribbles, like the scribble scrabble. And I'll show you that in a minute. Or they repeat words over and over and over again with text. It's pretty cool what some artists do. Now, this is basically what you call cross-hatching. I've gone from that light to the dark. Here I use more cross-sections, here less cross-sections, okay? Another thing, too, you can play around with, how heavy you come down. Here I use more pressure, here I'll use less pressure. That's it. Now, another funky way of doing it, too, Chuck Close does this in his work. He'll use like a scribble, kind of scrabble kind of rhythm. And he creates his shade and value that way. This is totally legit, okay? If you wanted to do this later in your still life, you may, okay? Here I'm working now darker in here, trying to get that value up there, and I'll keep adding that scribble scrabble until I'm satisfied with my gradation. Okay, how it's gradating from light to dark, okay? So that's cross-hatching. Now, like I said, I would not advise stippling. Reason, you'll see in a minute, stippling is hard. It's not truly visible. It will teach you discipline like that gentleman, like I told you, that artist that I worked with. Yeah, it will. But it's not really conducive to the pencil because you have to constantly sharpen it, okay? Keep going until you get it where you have that dark value, and then you slowly gradate to the light. I'm going to stop a little bit halfway because, like I said, it's a tedious process. And the more dots you put, the darker. Less dots you put, the lighter. Okay? Just slowly allow it to transition. Now I'm opening up the space in between. And now I'm getting lighter. Like I said, it's not conducive to pencil. I'd recommend it for pen, marker, paint, if anything, okay? But nothing else, okay? Any questions about those techniques? Okay, we've got let's kind of review that. We got the blending. We've got the hatching, 2 methods. And we've got the cross-hatching. And last but not least, the stippling, okay? And I will say that stippling in color becomes pointillism. And you might have heard that word before with George Seurat's work, and maybe in the future you'll hear it. Any questions? Questions? Okay.